Opening. Everything you've been told about money is incomplete. The world teaches you to hustle harder, to sacrifice more, to push through exhaustion for success. But I tell you this, money does not come from endless grinding. It never has. It comes from within you, from the feeling of wealth impressed upon your deeper mind before you ever see a single deposit. Tonight I'll show you how to enter the state where money flows to you as naturally as breath fills your lungs, not through burnout, but through the law that governs all creation. Perhaps you've come to this meditation carrying a heavy weight, the weight of building a business that hasn't quite taken off yet, the weight of watching other women seemingly succeed effortlessly while you're still figuring it out, the weight of wanting that cozy, luxurious lifestyle, but not knowing how to bridge the gap. I don't dismiss your struggle. I acknowledge it completely. I know what it's like to look at your bank account and feel your heart sink. I know what it's like to wonder if this dream of a nourishing, profitable business will ever materialize. But I tell you now, the circumstances of your life are shadows, nothing more. They are the outpouring of states you have consented to occupy. And if they are shadows, then they can change. They must change when you change the consciousness that casts them. The Great Deception. The world has taught you to pursue money as though it were outside of you, something to be chased, captured, earned through sacrifice and struggle. But this is the Great Deception. You've been trying to move shadows by touching the shadow itself. Imagine a woman in a dark room reaching out to grab the shadow of her own hand upon the wall. No matter how desperately she grasps, she cannot catch it. She cannot move it. For the shadow has no substance of its own. It is merely the reflection of something else. Right? Your bank account is that shadow. Your current revenue is that shadow. The gaps in your business are that shadow. And you've been exhausting yourself trying to manipulate shadows. You must change the body casting the shadow, and that body is your state of consciousness. Change the feeling, and the shadow must rearrange itself. It has no choice. Why affirmations alone don't work. You do not manifest money by repeating words you don't believe. You do not create wealth by visualizing your dream life while feeling poor inside. I've met many women who have tried this. They've stood before their mirrors and declared, "I am wealthy 1,000 times," and nothing changed. They've created beautiful vision boards for their cozy luxury business, and nothing changed. They've written money affirmations in their journals morning and evening, and nothing changed. Do you know why nothing changed? Because the feeling underneath all those words and pictures was still the feeling of lack. They were affirming wealth while feeling scarcity. They were visualizing abundance while sensing not enough. And the subconscious mind, which is the creative power within, does not respond to words. It does not respond to pictures alone. It responds to feeling. The feeling is the secret. Until you feel wealthy, truly feel it in the marrow of your being, no amount of mental repetition will change your world. What I offer you tonight, this is not positive thinking. This is not hope or optimism or the belief that things will get better someday. I offer you a technique, a precise method for entering the state of the wish fulfilled. You will lie down, relax your body, and I will guide you through the very door that leads from wanting to having. This is not wishful thinking. This is lawful creation. There is a law of consciousness as exact and reliable as any law of physics. When you know this law and apply it correctly, the results are certain. By the end of this meditation, you will have done what few ever do. You will have impressed upon your subconscious mind the feeling of wealth, the feeling of already possessing what you desire. And your subconscious, which knows no difference between fact and imagination, will begin to express it in your outer world. Not because you wished for it, but because you became it. Not because you hoped for it, but because you assumed it. You already possess everything. This is not about becoming someone you are not. It is about awakening to what you already are. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and in that kingdom you already possess everything. every possible state of wealth, every conceivable form of abundance, every version of your cozy luxury business thriving beyond your wildest dreams, it all already exists within you, waiting to be claimed. You are not asking the universe to give you something you don't have. You are simply recognizing and claiming what has always been yours. The wealthy version of you running a nourishing, profitable business is not a future version. It is you right now, seen from a different angle, assumed from a different state. Tonight, you will learn to bring her out. Real stories of transformation. Before we begin the meditation itself, let me share several true accounts from women who have used this very method. These are not fairy tales. These are real experiences of real women who dared to test the law and found it faithful. Story 1, the business breakthrough. There was a woman who built what she thought was her dream coaching business. After 3 years of effort, she was making just enough to cover basic expenses, maybe $3,000 a month. But it was exhausting. Long client hours, constant content creation, never-ending launches. It wasn't the cozy, luxurious life she'd envisioned. She discovered the practice of revision, reimagining her days as she wished they had been, rewriting her business story in her mind. Through daily practice, she was able to transform her entire business model within 18 months. Her income grew to match what the top 1% of coaches earn, not through working more, but through completely shifting her inner state. She didn't get more certifications. She didn't hire an expensive mentor. She didn't move to a different city or niche. She changed her state of consciousness. She became inwardly what she wished to be outwardly, and the outer world had no choice but to conform to the inner image. Story 2, the unexpected windfall. In that same circle of women, there was another entrepreneur. By her own confession, she was struggling. Her business barely covered her expenses. She had read about this teaching, but had done nothing with it to solve her financial challenges. Then she decided to put imagination to the test with something specific. She created a vivid imaginal scene and lived in it as though it were already real. Each day, morning, afternoon, and night, she enacted the same scene in her imagination. She would see herself logging into her business bank account. She'd see an appreciative smile on her own face in the mirror. She would watch herself opening her banking app and seeing a balance that made her heart sing. In one bank account, she saw $10,000. In her business account, she saw $25,000. She didn't hope to see these balances someday. She saw them now in her imagination as accomplished fact. But her imaginal scene didn't end there. She would imagine herself at her beautiful home office, planning how to invest this money back into her cozy, luxurious lifestyle. She'd see herself buying that gorgeous chair she'd been eyeing, booking that restorative retreat, upgrading her workspace to feel more nourishing. Her imaginary accounting came to $36,000. Notice the specificity. Notice the detail. She didn't imagine vague wealth. She imagined exact amounts and exact feelings. She enacted this entire scene each morning, afternoon, and night for less than 1 month. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, 3 clients reached out in the same week. High-ticket clients she'd worked with before, all wanting to extend their packages. Then a past client referred someone who wanted her premium offering. Then a company approached her about a collaboration that felt perfectly aligned. Within 6 weeks, she had received $37,200 in new revenue. The exact difference from her imagined amount, only $1,200. Do you see what happened? Her so-called coincidences were not accidents at all. Imagination used every available means to fulfill what she had impressed upon her subconscious mind. Story 3, when you need everything. There was a woman, 52 years old, whose business had dried up during a difficult season. She needed just about everything. To revive her business, she needed new equipment. Her laptop was so old it barely functioned. She was behind on her business expenses. She had no budget for the tools she needed. Her savings were almost depleted, and there was no one to whom she could turn. But she'd been studying this teaching for almost a year, and her desperation forced her to put imagination to the test. Indeed, she had nothing to lose. She needed so many things. New laptop, software subscriptions, website updates, money for basic living, money for business expenses. The list was endless. By the time she finished imagining all these things, she was so nervous she couldn't sleep. Then she heard about capturing a general feeling instead of specific things. Instead of imagining every detail, she captured the feeling that something wonderful was happening to her business. She would say over and over to herself as she fell asleep, "Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now." And as she fell asleep, she would feel the way she would expect to feel under such circumstances. Not hoping something wonderful would happen, but feeling as if something wonderful had already happened, was happening right now in this very moment. She repeated that imaginary action and feeling for 2 months, night after night. One day she ran into a former colleague she hadn't seen in years. They talked briefly about their businesses, then parted. It seemed like nothing. 1 month later, this woman called and told her about a business opportunity. A company was looking for someone with her exact expertise for a consulting contract. The colleague had immediately thought of her. The contract? $45,000 for 6 months of part-time work, the kind of cozy, well-paid work she'd always dreamed of, work she could do from her beautiful home office on her own schedule. But the story doesn't end there. That contract led to another and another. For the next 2 years, she had consistent, abundant work that not only covered every necessity, but left plenty for all the lovely things of life. A new laptop, beautiful software, a spacious home office, and best of all, a business that felt nourishing instead of draining. She didn't ask how. She didn't wonder where. She didn't try to plan the route by which her good would come. She entered the feeling and remained faithful to it. Story 4. Healing business relationships. There was a woman who had extended a generous payment plan to a client. Twice the deadline was extended with no payment. Her client always had excuses, cash flow issues, unexpected expenses. The money would come soon, but it never came. The natural thing to do was to apply pressure. Send stern emails, get a lawyer, write off the loss, and harbor resentment. Instead, she realized something profound. She had been seeing her client as someone who couldn't pay. Every time she thought of this client, the thought was accompanied by frustration and judgment. She can't pay. She'll never pay. This was the mental image she held, and this mental image was being expressed in her client's behavior. We do this constantly without realizing it. We see people as they have been, and by seeing them so, we hold them in that state. For 3 nights, she constructed a scene in her imagination in which she heard her client tell her that unexpected abundance had flowed into her business, and she was now able to pay in full, with gratitude and ease. She heard the words, she felt the relief, and most importantly, she saw her client as able. She saw her client as prosperous. She saw her client as a woman whose business was thriving. On the 4th day, she received an email from her client. The client told her that by what she called a miracle, 3 new clients had signed on in 1 week, and she was now able to pay back the full amount, including a bonus for the patience and grace she'd been shown. When you see another as unable, you hold them in that state. When you see them as able, you resurrect both them and yourself into a new state. The principle itself. These stories reveal the principle. But what is the principle itself? How does it work? You are awareness. Your awareness of being is the creative power. When you say I am, you are speaking the name of the creative force within you. And whatever follows that sacred phrase, you are declaring into existence. If you would recognize your awareness of being as the source of all creation, this awareness that fashions itself in the likeness and image of its conception of itself, you would transform your world from struggle to ease. Your consciousness of being is one with that which you are conscious of being. When you discover your consciousness to be the impersonal power of expression, you will assume and appropriate that state of consciousness which you desire to express. You shall decree a thing and it shall come to pass means you shall become conscious of being or possessing a thing, and you shall express or possess that which you are conscious of being. Your consciousness is like sensitive film. Your I am can be likened to sensitive film. In its natural state, it is potentially unlimited. You can impress a message of abundance or a story of lack, a symphony of success or discordant noise of struggle. It doesn't matter what the nature of the impression might be. Your I am will, without resistance, willingly receive and sustain all impressions. Your consciousness is impersonal. It is no respecter of persons. Without thought or effort, it automatically expresses every impression that is registered upon it. To be impressed is to be I impressed. All expressions are the result of impressions. Only as you claim yourself to be that which you desire to be will you express such desires. I am is the fullness of all, the eternal now. The role of feeling. The subconscious mind is the creative womb that gives birth to all circumstances in your life. But this creative power does not respond to words alone. She responds to feeling. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is the language by which you communicate with your deeper mind. You may repeat 1,000 affirmations with your lips, but if your feeling denies what your lips affirm, the subconscious will receive the feeling and discard the words. The conscious mind is the gardener who selects the seeds. The subconscious mind is the soil that receives the seeds and brings them forth. The subconscious does not analyze or judge whether a seed is good or bad. It simply receives what is impressed upon it and grows it to fruition. And what impresses the subconscious? Feeling, not words, not pictures, but the feeling that accompanies them. You can say, I am wealthy 1,000 times, but if you feel poor while saying it, the subconscious receives the feeling of poverty and expresses poverty. The words mean nothing. The feeling is everything. The question that unlocks the door. How would I feel if my wish were realized? Not how would I think, not what would I say. How would I feel? The answer to that question is the very substance of creation. That feeling, captured and maintained, is the seed that will blossom into circumstance. The feeling which comes in response to this question is the feeling which should fill your awareness as you relax into sleep. You must be in the consciousness of being or having that which you want before you drop off to sleep. The senses will argue. The senses will argue with you. They will show you empty bank accounts and slow business months. But you are no longer enslaved to the senses. You have risen above them. You have entered a higher reality where your wish is already fulfilled. This is what faith really means. Not hoping that something will happen, not believing that it might happen, but knowing that it has happened in the only reality that matters, the reality of imagination. Faith is not blind optimism. Faith is clear-sighted assumption. Faith is feeling the wish fulfilled and refusing to be moved by any evidence to the contrary. The mechanics of prayer. True prayer is not vain repetition, murmuring words, and hoping to gain the ear of some distant deity. Prayer is entering into union with your desired state. Just as a bride on her wedding day relinquishes her maiden name to assume the name of her husband, one who prays must relinquish their present identity and assume the identity of that for which they pray. The bride was Miss Smith. After the ceremony, she is Mrs. Jones. She has given up her old identity and taken on a new one. This is exactly what happens in true prayer. You give up your identity as one who lacks and take on the identity of one who has. When you pray, go within in secret and shut the door, and the source within you will reward you openly. The going within is entering your inner sanctuary. Shutting the door means shutting out the evidence of the senses. It means closing your eyes to what is and opening your inner eye to what you wish to be. What things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Notice the tense. Believe that ye receive them, not that ye will receive them. Present tense. Prayer is a present tense assumption, not a future hope. To pray for wealth is not to beg for it. It is to assume you are already wealthy and to give thanks for it. It is to enter the state of having and to feel the reality of that state until it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses.
The state akin to sleep.
There is a moment between waking and sleeping that is neither fully awake nor fully asleep. In this state, you are conscious and quite able to move or open your eyes, but you have no desire to do so. A faraway feeling accompanied by a general lassitude envelops you. You feel pleasant, comfortable rest, and are not inclined to alter your position. This is the state akin to sleep, the borderland between waking and sleeping, the threshold between the conscious and subconscious minds. In this state, the doors of the subconscious are open wide. The critical, doubting conscious mind has relaxed its guard. Impressions made in this state take root deeply and bear fruit quickly. An easy way to create this passive state is to relax in a comfortable position. Lie flat on your back with your head level with your body. Close your eyes and imagine that you are sleepy. Feel, I am sleepy, so very sleepy. In a little while, that faraway feeling will come. When this passive state is reached, imagine that you have realized your wish, not how it was realized, but simply the wish fulfilled. Then feel the reality of the state assumed. Feel yourself in the state of the answered wish and quietly relax into unconsciousness. The importance of your last waking thought.
Night after night, you should assume the feeling of being, having, and witnessing that which you seek.
Never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. Never sleep in the feeling of failure or lack. Your entire slumber is dominated by your last waking concept of self. Whatever you take into sleep with you will be worked upon by the creative power of your subconscious throughout the night. Your conception of yourself as you fall asleep is the seed you drop into the ground of the subconscious. If you drop a seed of lack, you will reap lack. If you drop a seed of abundance, you will reap abundance. The law is impersonal. It works for all alike. Thinking from versus thinking of. There is a crucial difference between thinking of the end and thinking from the end. Most people spend their lives thinking of what they want. They think of money. They think of their dream business. They think of that cozy, luxurious lifestyle. But there is always a separation between themselves and the thing desired. They are here and the thing is there, somewhere in the future, somewhere out of reach. But those who understand the law think from the end. They do not think of having their dream business. They think from the possession of it. They do not see themselves as wanting. They see themselves as having. You pass from thinking of to thinking from by centering your imagination in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you think of the end, there is always subject and object, the thinking individual and the thing thought about. But when you think from the end, there is unification, fusion with the idea. You and the state become one. All things exist now.
Creation is finished. Every state of wealth you can conceive already exists in the realm of imagination. You do not create wealth. You enter the state where wealth already is.
It is like tuning a radio to a different station. The station was always broadcasting. The music was always playing. You simply had to tune in to receive it. The wealth you desire is broadcasting right now. It exists right now. You simply need to tune your consciousness to its frequency.
The cozy, nourishing, profitable business you desire exists right now. The luxurious lifestyle you dream of exists right now. You simply need to assume it is yours. The meditation practice.
Everything I have shared with you has been preparation for what you are about to do. The stories showed you what is possible. The lessons showed you why it works. Now you will do it yourself. Now you will take the knowledge from your head and plant it in your heart. This is the critical moment. Many hear the teaching but never apply it. Many understand the principle but never practice it. But you are different. You have come this far, and now you are ready to do the work. Not the work of labor and struggle, but the work of imagination, the work of feeling, the work of assumption.